Have you ever felt that, I don't know, that little sense of separation, like you're somehow disconnected from something bigger, something essential? Well, today we're going to explore an ancient map that's all about healing that separation. It's the path of the feminine and masculine mysteries. Think of it as a guided journey of spiritual transformation, one that leads from feeling fragmented all the way back to wholeness. Let's dive in. So, to really get this journey, we have to understand where it starts. And this Gnostic quote, it just nails it. It talks about the fall. Now, this isn't about sin or being bad. It's about a feeling we all kind of know, this feeling of being cast out, of being separated from our divine origin. It's the fundamental problem that this whole spiritual path is designed to solve. All right, so let's unpack this idea of the Gnostic fall. Like we just said, this has nothing to do with punishment. It's really about a massive shift in consciousness, one that actually kicks off our entire spiritual journey. And what's so fascinating about this Gnostic view is how it defines that separation. The moment we develop an ego, that sense of I, we automatically create a split, a duality. Suddenly, we see ourselves as separate from the world around us, and our physical body as something separate from our spiritual self. This is the core wound. This is what the journey is all about healing. And so, this whole thing, this entire path, is really a journey of return. It's about healing that split, right? It's about consciously bridging the gap and realizing the incredible unity between our physical and spiritual selves. It's kind of like returning to the Garden of Eden, but this time, you're bringing all the wisdom you gained from the journey. But here's the thing. Before you can master the self, you first have to awaken the spirit. And that's where the journey begins. It starts with the feminine mysteries, which are so often symbolized by the element of water, cleansing, intuitive, and incredibly powerful. Okay, this is such a great way to see the two halves of the whole journey. They aren't opposites fighting each other, they're sequential stages. The feminine path, the path of water, is all about awakening, being receptive, and experiencing a spiritual birth. It's about preparing the vessel. Then comes the masculine path of fire, which we're getting to. That's about active discipline, about spiritual mastery. It's about filling that prepared vessel with a controlled, focused energy. The symbolism of water here is just perfect. It's all about flow, cleansing, and diving into the deep currents of the subconscious mind. This part of the path is a real purification. You're clearing out old, stagnant energies to prepare yourself for what's next. And it all leads to this symbolic baptism, which isn't just a ritual, but a genuine opening of your spiritual senses, of your inner sight. Now, this is absolutely key to understanding the focus of each path. The feminine mysteries are centered in the heart, the fourth energy center. This is all about opening to compassion, empathy, and a feeling of unity. It's literally the bridge between our lower, physical energies and our higher, spiritual ones. The masculine path, which we're about to explore, is centered in the solar plexus, the third center. This is the seat of personal power, of will, of the ability to turn pure intention into real-world action. And it's so important to remember, these are archetypal energies inside all of us, no matter our gender. So, once the heart is opened and the spirit is awakened through the path of water, the initiate is finally ready for the next stage. Now, we move into the masculine mysteries and the path of fire. And right away, the whole energy of the journey shifts. We go from awakening and receiving to actively doing. The masculine mysteries are not passive at all. They're about consciously grabbing the reins of your own spiritual energy, and that takes an incredible amount of focus, discipline, and pure will. Fire is such a powerful symbol here, right? Because it can create warmth and light, or it can burn everything to the ground. This path is about learning to control that inner fire, what's often called kundalini, that raw, creative, spiritual energy inside us. The goal is to channel it so it becomes a creative, constructive force. This is the absolute essence of mastering the lower self and transforming raw impulse into divine action. This brings us to the first of two really big rites within the masculine mysteries, and it's a word we're all familiar with: crucifixion. But here, we have to understand it not as a historical event, but as a deep, profound, and totally necessary internal process. It's all about mastering the self. So the crucial point here is that this is a symbolic act. This is the willed sacrifice of the ego and all of its attachments and demands. It's that moment where you consciously choose to surrender your lower self to a higher, divine will. It is the ultimate act of self-mastery. So how does this actually work? Well, it can be broken down into a 4-step process. First, you consciously shift your identity away from just the physical to embrace your spiritual nature. Second, you achieve that mastery by sacrificing the ego's constant demands. Third, and this is a big one, you learn to see challenges not as random suffering, but as a path of purification. And finally, you come to understand that this whole symbolic death is absolutely necessary for a profound spiritual rebirth to happen. So after this symbolic death of the ego, after the crucifixion, what comes next? Well, the culmination of the entire journey, resurrection. And again, this isn't about literally coming back from the dead, it's about achieving a completely new, integrated state of consciousness. And this right here is the ultimate goal, dual existence. Imagine that, the ability to walk with a foot in both worlds, to be fully present and grounded in our material reality, while at the same time being fully conscious of the spiritual dimensions. The separation we started with, it's finally healed. The most important word here is integration. The goal was never to escape the physical world, but to bring divine consciousness into it. Through this state of resurrection, you become a living bridge. You unite the physical and the spiritual right inside your own being. So what does it actually feel like to be in this state? Well, first, it's a victory over the fear of death, because you know, truly know, that your essence is immortal. It's a total integration of consciousness, where there's no more conflict between your earthly life and your spiritual self. You actually start to embody divine will, and you perceive the deep, profound, mind-blowing interconnectedness of everything. And that brings us to our final thought. After this whole journey from seeing the separation to awakening the spirit with water to mastering the self with fire, if you can finally walk in both worlds fully conscious of the physical and the divine, what then? What is the soul's true purpose from that enlightened state? That is the question this path leaves us to answer for ourselves.